A little while back, I did a podcast on what loyalty means in non-monogamous Alpha 2.0 relationships. If you are curious, you could watch that podcast, the video version, right there. And in that podcast, I talk about various aspects of being in a relationship where you have sex with other women, and the woman that you're with is allowed to have sex with other men. That doesn't mean she's doing it, but she's allowed to do it. And a number of you replied in the comments with some interesting points. And some of you actually DM'd and emailed me, and most of these are repeats of objections I've already answered before. But in this video, I'm going to encapsulate specifically the objections that today's Andrew Tate follower type guys have when you talk about having a non-monogamous relationship. So 2 things right off the bat. Number 1, I strongly recommend you watch this video. That is 50 different objections to non-monogamy and my answers. 50. I've been talking about this topic for a long time. I've heard every excuse in the book, and I've concluded pretty much all of them in that video. So I strongly suggest you take some time and watch that video. I go through every objection you could possibly think of to put your little nervous mind at ease about, I don't want to be a cuck, and what if she fucks my brother? Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, just about every guy on the internet who makes objections, well, I don't want my woman having sex with her. Every guy just about saying these things has never tried it. They've never done it. They've never had a relationship where they could hook up with other women and their wife or girlfriend or whatever knows this and she stays with him anyway, whether or not she hooks up with other guys. They've never experienced that in their life, so they're basically talking out of their asses. On the other hand, I have been doing this for 15 years straight. I am an expert at this. I have written books about this. I have interviewed and talked to literally hundreds, if not thousands of people about this topic. I think I know a little bit more about having a non-monogamous relationship and their various types and various configurations. I think I know a little more about this than random Andrew Tate type guys on the internet who say, I don't want to be a cuck. I think I know a little more about this. So whenever you see someone on the internet say something negative about having a non-monogamous relationship, you want to ask that person, have you actually ever tried it? What is your experience in this area? Kind of an important point. Now, let me go through some of the objections that guys have brought up in the past about this. Caleb, you said that women or many women or most women or some women will not have sex with other guys even though you're having sex with other women, but then you turn right around and say that monogamy doesn't work because women will cheat. So how does that work? I have been very clear and very consistent about this since I started talking about this many, many years ago. It is an issue of age, statistically speaking anyway. So let me break through the 3 age categories. Women under the age of 24, as I've said maybe thousands of times on the internet, women under the age of 24 are virtually incapable of sexual monogamy. They will hook up with other men if you're monogamous or open, either one. If you're monogamous, they will cheat on you and hook up with another guy. That's why I've talked about, do you realize the number of women I've had sex throughout the last 15 years who are under the age of 24 who had boyfriends? The number is huge. It's massive. Do you know the number of women I've heard of or known who were under the age of 24 who cheated on their boyfriends? It's staggering. Now, yes, there are odd exceptions to every rule. I'm sure you can find a few women who are under the age of 24 who have never cheated on their boyfriends. Yes, that does exist, but that is the exception to the rule. The exception proves the rule. But that's my point. If you're in a monogamous relationship with a woman like this, she will probably cheat on you. If you're in an open, non-monogamous relationship, she will hook up with other guys. In both cases, she will do this. And the better looking she is and or the more extroverted she is, the higher this odds occur. If you're dating a smoking hot 21-year-old girl who's pretty extroverted, I can set my watch to when she'll be hooking up with another guy, even if you marry her, which is why the red pill advice of settle down with a young girl who hasn't had sex with too many men yet is absolutely ridiculous. It's just a matter of weeks before she hooks up with another guy who's not you. So yes, that's true. Now, the next age category are women between age 24 and about 32. Now, these aren't hard and fast ages. These are approximate ages, so don't quote me on the exact ages. Somewhere around 24 to somewhere around 32. I don't think we know the exact ages. But in this age range, some of these women in a non-monogamous relationship will hook up with other guys. Some of them will. A lot of them won't. And the reason for that, I'll get to in a second. But they don't want to. Women are not like men. And a lot of these women who will hook up with another guy, they'll do it for a little bit at the beginning of the relationship and then they'll get bored and stop. Because women are not like men. I have personally had relationships, including serious relationships, with women who were having sex with other men, women who never had sex with other men, women who'd had sex with other men a little bit at the beginning and then stopped, and every configuration you can think of. Women are not like men. Now that brings us to older women, that is women over the age of 33 or 33 and older. And these women, as I've discussed many times, have sky-high levels of ASD. ASD, if you didn't know, is a term that comes out of the pickup artist world, and that is that thing that women have where they go on a first or second date, for example, with a guy they really like, they're super attracted to, they want to have sex with him, but they don't because they don't want to be called a SLUT, a word I can't say here on YouTube. As women age, ASD increases. It spikes at age 33 or so. So if a woman is over the age of 33, the odds are overwhelming she will not hook up with any other men because she thinks it's gross or inappropriate. And her attitude in non-monogamous relationships when she's with a man is, all right, he'll do it because he's a man and men are barbarians and disgusting. So he'll go do it. My husband, my boyfriend, he'll do it, but I'm not going to do that because that's not appropriate. My wife is 42. Her ASD is sky high. That's why she doesn't have sex with other men. Not to mention the fact that she's picky and all that usual stuff that comes with Western women these days. Now, in terms of women cheating in monogamous relationships, women who are at that age range, if you look into the data, you will see that the women who are over the age of 33 who cheat is because they're in dysfunctional relationships. They're in a marriage with a guy they don't like or not attracted to, or he's a boring beta male.
Hey, baby. How you doing?
Hey.
Got you your coffee.
Or he never spends any time with her, or what have you. These are not issues for the alpha male 2.0. Matter of fact, that is the exact opposite of what I teach in my relationship management models, including what I call the OLTR marriage, the type of marriage I have with my wife, Pink Firefly, where it's non-monogamous and there is enforceable, let me say that again, enforceable prenuptial paperwork that ensures I don't lose any money if we get divorced. By the way, do you know who else said that when women have the option of hooking up with other men, they don't? You know who else said that? Andrew Tate, the guy many of you worship as a god. He has said that multiple times. I've heard him say that in videos, that women are not like men, correct? And women don't immediately run out and get some cock just because they're allowed to do it, because that's not how women work. He has said that multiple times, and he is right about that. And it is very strange to me how many of you Andrew Tate worshipers casually and conveniently completely ignore him when he makes that statement and going right back to, well, I don't want to be a cuck, she'll fuck someone else. Did you not listen to your god, Andrew Tate, who said she probably won't? That's correct. And again, I've been doing this for 15 years. I can tell you with real data, both anecdotal data and scientific data, not just from me, but thousands of other men I've talked to about this, that is accurate, especially when you factor in the age factors I talked about a minute ago. The bottom line to all this is that women are not like men. Just because you as a man would immediately run out and get laid, or at least attempt to, if your girlfriend or wife said it was okay, that does not mean that your girlfriend or wife will then immediately go out and do the same thing. Women don't view sex the way men do. Women's sexual desires and sexual cycles are very different than men's. I've talked about this in The Unchained Man, my book at alphamalebook.com. I've talked about this in numerous places over the past 50 years in all of my content. Y'all just need to take a deep breath and relax. By the way, I do several videos here a week on masculine long-term happiness via masculine long-term freedom, location-independent income, non-monogamous relationships, being sexually free, and all that good stuff. If that's of any interest to you, you should subscribe to this channel, click the notification bell, leave a comment on this video, leave a like on this video. That way you'll get this content for free in the future. The next objection I see is, well, most men don't like it if their wife or girlfriend fucks another guy. That is not an argument. I'm shocked I have to keep saying this, and I've been saying this for like more than 15 years on the internet, even before I just started discussing non-monogamy. I don't like that is not an argument. I'm sorry, it's not. There's a lot of things in life you may not like to do that you have to do. I don't like paying taxes, but I do it. I don't not pay my taxes because I don't want to go to jail. Very simple. And again, I just talked about how the odds are pretty good. Matter of fact, very good if you configure your life a certain way and configure your relationships a certain way where the woman in your life or women in your life don't hook up with other men. You're just making an excuse. And by the way, here's the bottom line to that argument. Well, I don't like that. If you don't like that, if you say, I would never do something non-monogamous because I don't like it, then guess what? It is incumbent upon you to tell people exactly what you recommend they do. That's the part that a lot of guys like to ignore. They like to say, well, I would never do that. And then they run away and hide behind their keyboards. Great. If you don't want to do that, tell me what you are going to do. In a society where the real divorce rate is well past 76%, where the real infidelity rate in long-term relationships is well past 78%. Tell me how you're going to make that work. What are you going to do, Mr. Monogamy, in order to make that monogamy work for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years? I can't wait for your answer. By the way, you also have to tell me why you think it'll work with real data and real statistics. See, here's the deal. I've given you another option, OLTR relationships, OLTR marriage, MLTRs, and I've shown mountains of data as to why these work and why these protect you as a man and why these make men very happy, as opposed to traditional monogamous relationships with drama and screaming and fighting and breakups and divorces and screwed up kids.
I like turtles.
You might not like my answer, but I have an answer that I know works. You don't have an answer. And if you do have an answer, I challenge you to put in the comments exactly what your specific recommendation plan is for getting into a monogamous relationship, not having drama and problems and chaos, and not having women cheat on you. And if you cheat on her, you don't ever get caught, and she stays with you for the rest of your life, and she never says no to sex. Please let me know how that works, Mr. Monogamy. I can't wait for your very detailed, logical, scientific-based answer that I can critique. And if you actually have the balls to do this, which I doubt, but if you actually are getting ready to type your comment, before you type that, let me tell you what you can't say. You can't say, marry an 18-year-old and be alpha, because that's the standard red pill advice. Settle down with, or whatever, an 18, 19, 20-year-old virgin from India and just be alpha. And be alpha for the rest of your life. And then she'll always give you blowjobs. She'll never say no to sex. She'll never divorce you. We know for a fact that model does not work, because if that model did work, you should have millions, not 3 or 4 or 5, millions of men in the red pill community who did that 15 years ago, 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And they said, yes, I married an 18-year-old virgin, and that was 15 years ago. We have 3 kids. We still have sex every day. It's great. Do you see a lot of men? Do you see millions or even thousands of men saying that in the red pill world? No, you see 1 or 2 or 3. Again, exceptions and outliers. You don't see a lot. So that can't be your answer, because we know that answer doesn't work. The next thing that I have seen people say, either they say this directly or they say this indirectly, including in other social media formats and email and things like that, is that I am dealing with repressed anger because my wife is allowed to hook up other men. Okay, for the 10,000th time, my wife does not have sex with other men. So where is the repressed anger coming from? My wife is really hot. I have sex with her several times a week. I have sex with other women every week, some of which are some of the most beautiful women in the world. I mean that objectively. They are Instagram models with literally millions of followers. That's the truth. Boy, what a horrible life I have. I must be really angry about my about my amazing life. Yes, it's so terrible to be non-monogamous. So let me know why I'm angry. Let me know. I'm curious as to what your logic is. Now, to be fair, I have discussed this many times before. There is a version of non-monogamy, which I've called beta male polyamory. I've written several articles about this. Yes, the beta male bearded soy boy type guy who is married to a 5, and then she goes out and bangs other guys, and he's sitting at home pretending that he doesn't care, and he's like this, and he's all pissed off. Yes, that is beta male polyamory. That is not the system I recommend. That is not the way I live, and that's not the system I teach or endorse. Matter of fact, perfect segue into the next objection I get, which is basically a lot of variations of this, but basically it's, I don't want to be a cuck. I don't want to be a cuckold. Let me explain exactly what that term means. One of 2 things. The actual meaning of the word cuckold is a guy who is turned on by the thought or the vision of another guy having sex with his girlfriend or wife. I am not like that. I do not teach that. I don't recommend that. Now, if you do like that, hey, to each their own, do you, boo, do whatever you want. But that is not the lifestyle model I teach. A more updated and typical version of that word cuck or cuckold is the guy who is sitting at home by himself in the middle of the night, all by himself, jerking off to porn while his wife is out banging some other guy and he's alone in the dark while she's having all this fun. That's a cuck. Does that describe me? Does that describe anything I recommend? Does that describe anything I teach? That is literally the opposite of what I teach. And I'll say it again. There are men in non-monogamous relationships, including open marriages, who are betas. I have had sex with some of these men's wives where they have an open marriage. The wife is out having all kinds of fun getting laid. The man is home taking care of the kids, all pissed off and jerking off to porn. Yes, That is not what I recommend. That is not how I live. That is the opposite of how I live. I just told you how I live. I live literally the opposite of that. It's my wife who's home, not me. And she does that by choice. And that is not something I teach. What you're doing when you say, I don't want to be a cuck, is you're just throwing out bullshit excuses, especially if you have any knowledge of my content or my history. I suppose if you've never heard of me before and you stumble across my content and I talk about how I say the word open marriage, you immediately think of that left-winger Destiny and go, oh, this guy's married to some girl who fucks all these guys. So I suppose that might be one excuse, but I see this thing. I don't want to be a cuck. I don't want to be a cuckold. I don't want to do that. I'm a tough guy. No, I see these guys say this when they are familiar, at least somewhat, with who I am and my content. And in that case, I'm sorry, you're just making excuses. You're just full of shit. And I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning of this video. You've never done this before. You don't know how it works. I know exactly how it works. I'm an expert. I've been doing this for 15 years. I think I would take my advice and my analysis over your irrational fears that aren't based in anything factual or objective. And again, if you just want to be monogamous and suffer all the usual problems that monogamous men have, cheating, problems, drama, fights, breakups, never seeing your girlfriend again, divorces in some cases screwed up children. If that's the way you just want to live and you understand those are the negatives and you're just going to do it anyway because I don't want to be a cuck, well, that's fine. Then you really shouldn't follow my content. I'm really not sure why you're here. That's perfectly fine. I'm an individualist. Do what you want. But don't delude yourself into thinking that you have some kind of superior system because you watched Andrew Tate videos. That's not how the real world works. Speaking of bringing women into your life, see that segue? You should watch this video right here, which is the #1 best technique for bringing new women into your sex life when you have a non-monogamous relationship and you want some women on the side. And I'll see you in that video.